Well, as fate would have it this year, Beth Wilbins, who is the president of Forte Public Relations, and that's the PR company that Edgemere uses, introduced me to a film called Carried Away. And she said, would you like to take a look at this? It's an independent film out of Fort Worth, and kind of explained the theme of the movie to me. And I thought, sure, I'll sit down and watch that. And so my wife and I did, and as I watched the movie, it started kind of clicking into place. There was a synergy between the theme of the movie and this kickoff that we're always trying to come up with for Edgemere's annual Memory Walk drive. So let me talk just a little bit about my impressions of the movie before I invite the director, Tom Huckabee, up to speed. I sat down to watch this, and I've worked in senior living for 15 or 16 years now, and there's an awful lot of realities to what I do for a living and what it's like to work in a senior living environment. And as I watched this movie, I was struck again and again and again how realistic it is, and amazingly realistic. So realistic, in fact, that there are scenes in the movie that are extraordinarily uncomfortable. Or at least for me they were. I don't know, they might not be for you. There's themes in the movie that are difficult to watch, but I will tell you, not only is this, in my opinion, a very, very good and interesting film, but it's very realistic as well. So to have the opportunity to have Edgemere screen this movie today is quite an honor. And then layered on top of it, Tom Huckabee agreed to come and participate in the screening. He is the director of the film. And then layered on top of that, Tom was able to get a few cast members and many of the crew to come and participate as well. So Tom's going to say a few words to kind of introduce the theme of the movie. And then afterwards, if there's questions, we certainly would love to have you be able to ask questions of Tom or any of the cast members. So we'll do a short Q&A afterwards if there is interest in that.
Coming, and thanks to John Faldine and his wife Jade Faldine, who works with Forte PR, and many of them are here. They've been doing a great job because they believe in the film. And when I first met Beth at the Dallas International Film Festival, I told her about my fantasy, essentially, of taking this film on the road to retirement centers across America, and she thought that was a great idea, and this is the first day. So as the ship is getting ready to sail from here, and I appreciate you all being here, and I hope that you will stay after the movie, and I'd like to hear your response to it. Essentially, this is the story of my relationship with my grandmother. I didn't kidnap her, but I felt like it. She was very unhappy where she was. She had dementia that came on immediately after surgery. She was fine, her mind was fine, but she couldn't walk and she needed two new knees. And the next day she had the new knees, but she apparently must have had a stroke during the surgery that left her with dementia, which so that when my father decided to put her in a nursing home, she just never knew where she was, and she was regularly trying to escape. One day she got out onto the freeway on I-35, this is in Fort Worth, dragging her walker behind her because she'd been told she couldn't go anywhere without it, just to slow her down. Because she walked perfectly fine. So she got out on the freeway and was stopped traffic for miles and miles until a policeman came and took her back to the home, which is when I saw her. I was living in Hollywood. I'd been there for a few years, but I came back for Christmas every year, and I had lived with my grandmother, and she had taken care of me for years. I was very close to her, and it was very disturbing to find her just suddenly completely different person. And so this is a story about that, about my own personal experience with dealing with somebody that couldn't take care of themselves anymore. And that's what it's about, and I'd love to hear your stories afterwards.
Tom, what would you say the moral of the story is?
It would be communication. If I'm making any point, and I don't know if stories necessarily have to have morals or more, or moral to the story like an Aesop fable. But if there is one, it's about that it's better for family members to communicate with each other and hear each other's opinions than not. And that obviously the kid's action was imprudent, and he made a mistake. He overreacted, and but I think if the father had been more willing to listen to what he had to say and at least understand his feelings about it, that maybe they wouldn't have had to have gone through all that. At the same time, I think it was the crisis that sometimes, sometimes you have to have a big fight to get a resolution.